Load. Sorry. So, yep. Sprint challenge. Hello and welcome back. My name is Lucas, and this is the Journey Through Lambda School. So we are starting week 2, and this is day 1. And we will get started. So I'll start with today, because that'll be easier to do, and then I will jump to the sprint challenge. Today was pretty straightforward, responsive design. So the past few days we'd gone over HTML, CSS, and general design best practices using Flexbox. So today we focused on responsive design. During our course today, we were making this hideous thing. So this was during our live lecture. We were just basically setting this up so that we can get our media query set up so that we can adjust it per screen size. So during the actual project time, because let me take a step back. There are the way the days work, and maybe I should have said this a little bit more clearer. So every day starts with a TK, training kit hour, that you spend at the first hour of the day going over the material that we're going to use during the live lecture. Then there's about 2 hours worth of live lecture time with a live instructor, and is where you get counted for attendance. Then there's an hour break in between for lunch, and then after lunch you have a project time. So during that project time there is you guessed it, a project that you work on during the next few hours in order to submit before our wrap up at the end. So this piece that you're seeing here, this was during the live lecture time. So you've probably seen this website before on the previous videos, this Great Idea website, and I'll start it with it wide. So we were working on responsive design, of course. So this atrocity of a site was supposed to do 2 things. So this is layout number 1 for desktop, and then if you were to move to a tablet, you can see that the menu stacks, the nav stacks, and then the image disappears. That was pretty much it. And then for mobile layout, it was supposed to stack all the menu items. We don't have the menu collapse yet. That will require some JavaScript. I could have done it, but unfortunately I'm in the middle of moving right now, which I'll show you here in a second. So we didn't do the collapsible menu, but we made sure that everything else stacked properly and looked really nice. I will say this, I thought I knew how to do this really well, and actually requiring myself to do it with media queries and setting it up, this past week I've actually felt way more confident than I had been before in terms of styling and doing more mobile responsive design. So we were starting with desktop first. We're using max widths in order to break down the different sizes to move down towards mobile. Tomorrow we will work with more min widths, so starting with mobile first and moving outward that way on our responsive design, and we'll see how that goes. But overall, pretty straightforward, pretty simple today, nothing crazy. I wanted to show a couple of neat little resources that we'd got today that were pretty neat. So one of them, if we check here, so if you haven't checked out Flash tabs, I still use this every single day. Great resource. Recommended from Lambda School on just really quickly on how to store questions and test yourself on programming things. But for today, where were we? On our CSS, there were a couple of more things. So, because CSS isn't terribly hard, but there's a ton of really cool resources. Garden. So what that lets you do is it's kind of like the Froggy or the Flex Froggy, but instead for grid systems. So actually really smart. I like this a lot as well. Then there was HTML color codes. So really simple site on picking color codes. I have a plugin here, or a Chrome extension here for my site that lets me color pick, but this site was actually pretty nice too, especially in some of the resources they had available. And the last one was social media sites. So if you needed social media colors for any of these, if you needed, Apple's, Amazon's, Android's, Google's, whatever you needed, it would also have it. So Quora's, red, blue, white colors. This was actually pretty cool as well. I liked this. So I'll link these resources in the description as well. So let me jump to the project from last week with a short Lambda break. Perfect. Okay, so if I go to index, let's see what our sprint challenge looked like. Yes, so our sprint challenge was pretty straightforward. They gave us several of these boxes here, or they gave us a lot of the actual HTML. The first thing we had to do was color all of these boxes accordingly. Then we were supposed to add in this header and nav and this image. On top of that, we were supposed to then create this about page, which we only had the HTML for. There was no real structure to this, so we had to do this, or make it look like this. Really, we had a design file that we had to match, and there was I don't think there was any. Okay, very, very little responsiveness that I added. It was not required, but I threw that in as part of the stretch goals that we had. And then last is the last stretch goal that we were required to do was create a contact page. So same header, threw in a new image, got these fake headlines, headshots. That's what these people are. They're headshots. With our wonderful Phil Knight as our advisor for our startup, and a contact page. So this didn't actually have to do anything, but we were tested to stretch our knowledge with contact pages. So this was basically the end of day 5. You didn't have to do any of this. I added in some animations on the buttons, I think, as well. If we went to about, my computer is trying to take off right now. But yep, so animations on the buttons as well. But that was the sprint challenge. So we basically had 3 hours right early in the morning from 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So as soon as, so I'm Central Time. So it was 10 to 1. So 3 hours exactly in order to knock the project out. And upon that was submission. And then after the sprint challenge, it was go over the sprint challenge, go over yesterday's work, help anybody else, finish it off if you needed to. But it was fairly relaxed after the sprint challenge was done. Cool. So what does the future hold? I've got a project that I know for a fact that I'm going to do. I have a that I love to use when I'm looking for stuff. It's actually where I found the headshots for these wonderful people here, as I go to a site called allthefreestock.com. And then so here is where I will find and look for images. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take this exact same concept, because all this does is load the website in this mini browser here. All I'm going to do is I'm going to create an identical site like this, except every site is going to be some type of job site, because I know people are always looking for remote work, for software type of jobs, or they're looking for construction work. I want one place where anybody that's looking for work can just find every single job site that's available. And we'll see how it goes. That's going to be a project for sure that I'm working on, and that's going to be the jibber jobber that I might have referenced in a previous video. That's kind of what this is adapted to becoming. So with that, I raise a glass of lime arita to toast you guys moving forward, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Thanks for joining.